Hey, the more you do for your Jeep, the more your Jeep will do for you. And if you want updated, upgraded, and ready to take on anything your life can throw at it, Real Truck has the parts and accessories made to fit your favorite 4x4. We will even guide you through the installation process. So whether you're taking on the next big adventure or your favorite off-road trail, make sure your Jeep is ready at realtruck.com. Real Truck, bring your truck to life. On tonight's episode, has Pennsylvania banned hams from talking on their mobile radios? Sounds like something Pennsylvania would do. You know, Biden's from Pennsylvania. Maybe this is there's a correlation here.
Yeah,
it's a First Amendment thing, right? Talk on your radio.
Yeah, there's the people that want to do what they're not supposed to be doing with the radios are the reason that all these goofy laws and rules exist.
Well, this is 100% cell phone abuse, where people are doing using cell phones while driving and running into people. So they just want to ban people from talking on two-way radios while they're driving.
Yeah, it's it's a distraction. And if I'm the type of wheeler when I'm Jeeping that I don't normally use a radio. I've had some experience in the past with CBs back in the day when I was doing, big time mud bogging and stuff because the distances we were covering in that time, but we didn't have like mountains in between us or any of that kind of stuff. So just a standard CB at work. And we all knew back then in those younger days, it's like, there's the trucker channel that you can reach out and touch I-40. You stay off of that one unless you want to pick a fight with somebody. And then the emergency channels. And other than that, nobody cared. If they got noisy on one channel, we all agreed to click to another one. But in those days, that was like 4 or 5 of us. These days, when you've got massive groups of Jeepers that are trying to cover large distances, it is not convenient or safe to use a cell phone, even if it's hands-free. So the GMRS, that's pretty handy because they've got voice-activated ones. You don't necessarily have to have push to talk. But I think it's the same thing. You need to avoid emergency channels. You need to avoid abusing those frequencies, doing stuff you're not supposed to be doing. But I think it's a little bit of an overreach. Personally, I don't think you should have to have a license or permission to use regular bandwidths. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy.
Mm-hmm. But and also too, in this episode, does your classic Jeep need zinc in its oil?
Well,
you know about that one? You know about the zinc in the oil?
If you are running an older model Jeep, that's probably a good idea. I don't think it's going to hurt anything on a newer one, but if you're going to start doing it, you got to stay with it. You don't want to flip-flop back and forth. It's like the whole synthetic versus conventional. I see it a whole lot in the gear world, and among other things. It's if you start with synthetic, stay with it. If you don't want to stay with it, you have to clean everything out. It's not just a dump and refill. You got to cycle the stuff through there. I'm personally not a fan of synthetics. I prefer the dyno oil myself. And yeah, the more zinc, the better. It's like you get to be our age and your multivitamins are loaded with that stuff. So
yeah, that's kind of the problem with the synthetic is I haven't experienced this myself but the XJ always leaked. But I've heard that the synthetic
if it's leaking, it's got fluid in it.
Yeah, exactly. It's okay. And it's do you actually have to change the oil in the XJ? You just keep topping it off and it just cycles through.
Come out on its own.
All right. So Pennsylvania has not explicitly banned the use of two-way radios while driving for all users, but the situation is nuanced due to the state's distracted driving laws, particularly Paul Williams Law, Senate Bill 37, which took effect on June 5th, 2025. So just a few days ago. And I understand what they're trying to do here. It's those damn kids and their cell phones. And it's not just kids, but you know what I'm saying, the distracted driving. But I don't know about you. I can drive a standard transmission, have a drink and a hamburger, and drive while eating and drinking all that. Can't shift gears, but you got to plan your gear change.
I'm also pretty like the heel toe thing. People that aren't familiar with driving manuals, especially off-road or any kind of performance type usage, I have people all the time, they watch me do something in my rig and then they see me get out and realize that it's a manual transmission. They go, how'd you do that? I'm like, years and years of practice that I hate automatics. So, no,
it's nice having that ability to manually do things. That's kind of the nice thing about an Atlas transmission, because you have more control over what axle is engaged and you can do different things. It's great, but it can be very tedious especially if somebody else is trying to drive your rig.
My wife won't drive mine. She refuses to. She's never learned how to drive a manual, which she refuses to do it. She said, I'm fine riding. I don't want to drive it. I'm like, there's going to be a time where you're going to have to move this thing for me.
There may be an emergency.
And it may be an emergency. And she's like, nope, somebody else can do it. So both of my oldest kids learned how to drive manuals in my Jeep. I'm going to be teaching the other ones when they come of age. Riley's right there. I mean, she's just got a few more years, and she's going to be behind the wheel on her own. So she's going to learn.
Yeah, I think you need to learn how to drive a manual transmission. I mean, Murphy's Law says when the world ends, the only vehicles that'll be available will be manual transmission. You know, you'll be looking around for a vehicle so you can get out of harm's way, and they'll all be manual.
Yep. What's the joke? Millennial anti-theft device. It's like,
yeah, exactly.
What's that stick? What do those numbers mean?
Yeah,
yep.
my first vehicle was a standard transmission, and I basically, I'm sure somebody helped me, but I basically taught myself, and I had no problems whatsoever. I did go through 12 clutches in the time that I was driving that car.
See? No problem. Those clutches, you got real good at changing the clutch on that vehicle, didn't you?
I did. And I think it was the 12th clutch that I found out you're supposed to resurface the flywheel at least. And I found out the hard way about how a throwout bearing will go through the fingers of the I'm forgetting what it's called now. Not the flex plate.
Pressure plate.
Pressure plate. Thank you. How to go through the fingers of the pressure plate. I had to drive 20 miles home from school, starting it in first gear and then shifting, at the right RPM. I mean, the right RPMs or the right miles per hour to get it to the next gear without grinding it. But I made it home. Damn it! I wasn't going to be towed or I couldn't afford it anyway. 16, So there's so many things that you can do, including getting around buying a new battery when you need one. All you have to do is push that thing in the school parking lot.
Yep. That definitely comes in handy. Definitely.
Yeah.
No, I think when you're talking about the benefits of, from my personal take, my professional understanding, the benefits of a synthetic oil over conventional, I have yet to see any hard evidence that says that's the way to go. Again,
it's supposed to give you 0.008% more gas mileage.
Have you seen what I drive? I don't give a shit about gas mileage.
Yeah,
I really don't. No, mine will pull down 14 and a half because I normally don't hot rod it on the pavement. That's probably going to change when the V8 goes in. I'll definitely be more aggressive with it. I'm gonna.
Why have a V8 if you're not going to use it, right?
Exactly.
Well, we got a little off track here on the bill. So, no, it's my fault. Senate Bill 37, as I've said, took effect on June 5th. So the law primarily targets the use of handheld interactive mobile devices, cell phones, tablets, while driving, making it a primary offense to hold such devices for nearly any purpose, including texting, calling, or browsing, even when stopped at a traffic light. Now, I got a problem with that. If you're stopped in traffic or at a traffic light, why the hell can't you entertain yourself? You're not driving, you're just waiting.
Yeah, because it works the same way if I'm just sitting there at the stoplight. I'm not drinking and driving.
That's right. Yeah, the open container law, that's another one.
You're going to have, there's always going to be that dummy that's not paying attention because they're sitting in traffic and they think, man, I'm going to be here a while. And before you realize it, everybody's going and you're getting honked at.
That's why I've got to get that air horn installed.
I noticed the bill was named after an individual. And normally when they do that kind of thing, it's to pay honor or respect to a person that was either injured or killed.
Yeah.
And so I have a feeling that, somebody out there, unfortunately, this was a problem and it caused, death or injury. And if humans are going to human, if you can't figure it out on your own, then somebody's going to step in and tell you how to do it, which means everybody else has got to suffer for it. So
exactly.
I think for trail use, I don't think the bill should apply. I mean, if you're not on a public
it doesn't.
Roadway,
you're not on a public roadway. So I mean, if it does, somebody correct me. Yeah.
I don't think it's going to matter.
What if you're caravanning? you're in a line of Jeeps traveling to a spot, maybe two or three of your buddies are traveling along, and you see a Buc-ee's sign, and you want to say, "Hey, we need to stop at Buc-ee's." Do you know what Buc-ee's is? Or you got any Buc-ee's around there?
We don't drive past the Buc-ee's.
There we go. You know what I'm talking about.
I live in Central Texas, and there's nowhere I can go from where I live that on any major highway that we're not going to hit one of the good ones. But
I was very disappointed on the way to EJS last year and the year before. No Buc-ee's. It was just it really sucked. So there was plenty of places to stop, but this wasn't the same as Buc-ee's.
Buc-ee's is pretty entertaining. The kids love it.
Mm-hmm.
It's dangerous for me because of all, I'm a fat boy. I like to eat sweets. I like good red meat and all that stuff. And they've got, fresh barbecue. They've got all the
It's not the greatest barbecue. Yeah.
No,
and jerky
it's not.
and stuff. But it's wonderful barbecue for a gas station.
Yeah. But you just can't go in there, and even if you're not buying fuel, you can't go in there and not spend $100 damn bucks.
They got good coffee as well.
Beaver nuggets, buckyballs, what do they call it? Beaver nuggets? I think.
Beaver nuggets.
My personal sin in that one is they've got it's the chocolate deals that are either full of caramel, full of peanut butter. I get the one that's like a giant Reese's peanut butter cup, but it's got the Bucky deal on it, and
right.
they're like that big. It'll make you sick if you eat the thing all at one sitting, which I do every time I get one. But
of course, yeah, of course. So getting back to this, violators will face a written warning for the first year until June 5th, 2026, which is good. It gives the police time to warn people about it. And even though there's no specific law saying you can't talk on two-way radios, it really is up to the officer's discretion. So if there's not a caveat to this saying that, ham radio operators or CBers or GMRS, and that's fine, two-way radios is fine, they may pull you over, they may give you a warning, and of course you can question them about it. I would just say, yes, sir, thank you, sir, and go on about my business and continue talking on the radio.
I don't argue with law enforcement.
No, there's no reason.
I don't. It's like, if I know I'm right and he's wrong, I'll take that back. There was one time where I did fight a ticket from the State Highway Patrol because I knew where he pulled me over versus where he put on the ticket was like 2 miles apart. And there's a significant speed limit reduction. So when I saw which mile marker he had put on the ticket, I hollered at the office and was like, hey, can I request copy of the dash cam video for this? Because I'd like to verify what your officer put on the ticket versus not. And it turns out I was right, and they just dropped it. I mean, just like that. It was nothing. And it's very, very rare that you can fight something from the Department of Highway Public Safety, DPS, and win. But I wasn't an asshole about it. I was like, hey, I'm seeing a discrepancy here. And as soon as I asked for the video before going to the judge for the court date, they were like, okay, you're good. Dismissed.
Did you get the feeling that the officer was putting his finger on the scale, or it was just an honest mistake?
Honestly, I feel like he was fat fingering a little bit because I was at the back of a line of cars on a toll road, and we were all 10 miles over the limit. He just picked me out of the back of the line because I was at the back of the line. And where we stopped versus, because the speed limit there was 65 miles an hour, and 2 miles up the road, it comes up to a major intersection where there's the blinking stoplights on one way and blinking yellow lights the other way. And the speed limit up there is 40. And he put down the mile marker post up there by that intersection. And right then, now I just went from 10 mile and over to now I'm 35 miles and over the speed limit. That's a healthy ticket. That'll get you in trouble with the DPS. That's why it concerned me.
I think I was told when I was pulled over for doing 25 over the speed limit that they could actually take my vehicle. That was when I was driving the XJ. And I told the officer, hey, if I saw you in a patrol car, I would have slowed down, but you were on a motorcycle, so I didn't see you.
You're gonna keep up with the bullshit about the XJ. We all know it can't go 75 miles an hour. Come on.
It was a 40-mile-an-hour zone, and I think I was doing 65. I was just accelerating. You can get some pretty good torque out of a 4.0. So I actually had somebody ask me if I had a V8 in there one time. I said nope. Now I've done things to the 4.0 throttle body.
It doesn't have a frame. It's super light.
Mine kind of has a frame now with the sliders and stuff that I have on there. Plug welded to the unibody, frameless and shameless. All right, so they do have exceptions for law enforcement, of course, or emergency services to prevent injury or property damage. Commercial drivers using communications devices within the scope of their job, truckers and bus drivers, emergency responders. If these people can do it, I should be able to do it. I'm not talking about being on the cell phone. I'm talking about talking on the radio. And you have to pay attention. Your primary thing to do is to make sure you're paying attention to the road. I do it because I love my Jeep. I don't want to have any damage to my Jeep. Those other people, they may just be a hindrance for me to get to where I'm needing to go. I don't want to run into anybody, but mainly I don't want to injure the Jeep because I love my Jeep. So it doesn't matter if it's the two-way radio or the cell phone or whatever. I can look at my cell phone and read a text message. I'm not going to send a text message while I'm driving. That's ludicrous. It takes you about 10 minutes to send one text message. At least me, I'm not practiced at it.
I think, you've seen the guys in the big trucks. I know I've seen them on the highways and stuff where they've got either the one earpiece with the, down in front of the microphone in front of their face, or the two-piece ones, which I know in some places, I don't know if it's a state law here in Texas, but I do know there are cities that don't allow for people, like I found this out the hard way when I used to ride a street bike. You're not allowed to have in your music headphones while you're riding because you can't hear the traffic and stuff.
Oh, it's the same for cars as well.
Yeah.
One ear.
So I'm trying to figure out how they to enforce that and make it to where it has to be justifiable infraction for safety on the road, right? That's what they're going for. So if it's not illegal until you get caught. I mean, do you have to pull up in front of a cop and hold up your walkie-talkie and be like, hey, is it how
this is like the seatbelt law, right? I mean, they have to. They can kind of do. Yeah, and remember when the seatbelt laws first came out in Texas, the big seller was the T-shirts with the seatbelt printed across it.
Yep, I remember that. Yeah. Well, when they changed the open container laws too, when it first came out, it was the driver, right? And then you couldn't touch the passengers if they were of age. Yeah. But then they went back and changed the law that was any open container in anybody's possession. So it
doesn't matter what you're drinking. It doesn't matter if it's coffee or water or anything, right?
One alcoholic beverage in the vehicle that's open is enough to get everybody. That's the crazy part. And they've also changed the language where now instead of DWI, DUI, they're doing the OWI, because you've got all the, I'm not driving, I'm traveling, I'm operating, I'm not driving.
Well, interesting.
Yeah, they get wise to it after a while. I feel like the thing with the radios is probably, it sucks to a degree, but overall, I don't think it's going to have any sincere effect because it's one of those types of laws that the people that don't care just aren't going to pay attention to it. And I'm not picking on anybody in particular. I just know how humans are. And like you said, if we're caravanning somewhere and that's our primary source of communication, are you going to stop and look around while you're driving to see if there's a cop before you get on the radio? Or are you just going to, hey guys, we're pulling off at Buc-ee's, follow me? I don't think it's like doing a crossword puzzle or, like you said, trying to send a text.
What's the likelihood? What's the likelihood the cop's going to be there to see you talking on your radio for 6.5 seconds? So just be safe, I guess is what we should say here. And it is a shame, Paul Miller. The Paul Miller law was because
we're not advocating breaking the laws in Pennsylvania by people. It's not.
I don't care. Break the laws. But just be safe. Be safe and don't get injured, especially because we don't want to lose any viewers. But it's sad that Paul Miller lost his life, and I think a lot of politics has to do with appeasing the population. And I suspect that that's what this is. It's just like we're elected officials. Let's do something, and they don't think of the overall thing. I would be perfectly fine with this if they had an exemption for ham radio, GMRS, for two-way radios. There's no reason why you can't drive and have a two-way radio. You're not really looking at anything. You're just talking on a channel.
Right, you said they gave the exemption for people doing jobs, not just emergency workers and stuff, but it says in there it's okay for somebody in the commission of their employment, if they're a truck driver or something like that. How is it any different for somebody behind the wheel of a semi truck to be okay with doing it, but the guy in his Jeep next to him, one lane over, can't?
Well,
where's
people
the
are
difference
not
there?
treated all the same is the problem, and I
No.
think is the general problem in America. Everybody needs to be treated the same way with laws applied equally.
Somebody
So
made
anyway,
this law so they could go home and sleep well at night, like you just said that we did something. It's the
yeah,
same BS
and
argument with everything else that politicians do. It's appease a few constituents and donors. Don't worry about the effect that it has on the actual population.
And this is why we need the limited number of times. I'm forgetting what it's actually called, but the limited number of times they can be elected for a position, and so that they're not career politicians. The people need to get
one term. They don't need to sit up there for fucking
term limits. Thank you.
Yes, term limits. It's 30, 40 years playing the stock market, getting all the deals done, all those backroom handshakes and stuff. You know, it's like.
Sweet job if you can get it and make $125,000, $150,000 a year, but that's not enough.
Their salaries a pittance compared to what they're making, behind the scenes. That's the messed up part. And most of the time, your average American citizen is going to be okay with anything they're saying and doing. Are gas prices reasonable? Are my groceries affordable? Is interest rates down? I'm going to work. I'm going wheeling. I'm doing my thing.
Politics are horrible. Who wants to pay attention to politics? And that's one of the reasons why we need term limits. And you probably have never heard this. My idea is the government should be run like jury duty, where you get a summons in the mail and you're president of the United States. Oh, damn it. What's the matter, honey? Oh, I'm president of the United States starting next year. Weren't you just president 2 years ago? That whole thing where you don't want to do it. You got to do it. So you get in there, you do what you think's best and get the hell out, because that's not your life. I just don't like politicians. I don't like politics, and it needs to be done differently. It's amazing how well things have worked out.
They go into it knowing that they can't sit there for years and years and years, basically lining their own pockets and doing all this stuff, because that's all it is. It's money and power and control. It's not about what's best for people. I'm sure there's a lot of starry-eyed young politicians that get into it to begin with and think they're going to make changes. They're going to change the world. They're going to save the country. And then when they realize what the swamp truly is, it's like, I can either leave or I can get on the bandwagon and
play the game
money.
and then
play the game and
have a nice nest egg. All right, let's jump over to our next story. Really good conversation there. Sorry, folks. Didn't mean to get into politics, but boy, it's hard not to with some of these things. And this was a bill that was passed in Pennsylvania, so it's politics. All right, so the Jeep 4.0 liter inline-six is a flat tappet design. Benefits from motor oil containing Zinc. Do you have any idea what that is? Dialycal?
I've seen it in print. I don't know what the rest of it means, but the basic.
It's chemicals.
It's petroleum stuff.
Yeah, it's the stuff they got in there. Yeah. I like that they have here in parentheses ZDDP, which is probably what you're going to be able to remember and probably be able to look on the oil container to see what this is. It's basically
sound like some kind of poison gas or something.
Well, I'm sure it's not good to drink or eat.
So anyway, had a weird acronym like that. DTT or what was it?
The mosquito shit. Yeah, we used to ride our bicycles behind the mosquito
the trucks that were spraying
machine. Yeah, and it hasn't affected me. But anyway, the ZDDP is to reduce wear on the camshaft and lifters, especially during break-in or high mileage engines. Now, you're aware of the issue with the 3.6 and the I don't think it's the lifters, but it is the rocker arms and the cam.
Yes.
And it's not Zinc related. Yeah, it's not Zinc related, but it's kind of funny how this reoccurring theme happens. I wonder if Zinc would help the 3.6 out. Real Truck drops limited edition NASCAR gear for the ultimate fan. Real Truck, a global manufacturer and product accessory brand for a digital destination for truck, Jeep, and Bronco and off-road enthusiasts, unveils an exclusive limited edition collection in collaboration with NASCAR that will feature a premium truck bed cover, cap, and lettering kit designed for the ultimate racing fan and truck enthusiast. This partnership merges the passion for trucks and customization with the adrenaline, heritage, and dedicated following of NASCAR, offering premium gear that lets truck owners showcase their fandom like never before. Just head over to realtruck.com/press and look for the press release limited edition NASCAR gear. realtruck.com/press, and you will find this great article and how you can collect some of this NASCAR goodies for your vehicle.
I'm going to venture to say no, because it's really what it is, and nobody's going to like to hear it this way. It's a design flaw. That goofy little, if you've ever been into one or seen one of those rocker arms, the pivot point, it's got little straight needle roller bearings in there. And so those things over time, and some of them rather quickly, start to deteriorate. And when they go, it messes with the alignment of the rocker on the lobe of the cam. Right. So this thing is now, instead of sitting up here where it was, now it's digging in on every revolution of that lobe. And eventually it just, because now it's not rocking because the little pivot bearing's gone, it's just sitting there. And that's where your click comes from, because it's just bouncing off the camshaft and eventually just grinds the lobe to shit. And if you don't catch it fast, it's an expensive fix. So
yeah, I've understood that it's about $500 in parts, and you correct me on any of this stuff. I've heard that it's about $500 in parts, and it's at the upper part of the engine. It's on the heads, so it's not difficult. But it's still, nobody likes to hear that ticking noise. And if you don't catch it quickly, you get a lot of debris, metal shavings and stuff in the entire engine.
Yep.
So it's not something you can just continue on. It's not like an XJ where you can just it ticks. This is the way it is, and it goes 200,000 miles. Yeah. So this is critical for the 4.0s, and I'm sure there's some other flat tappet engines out there. I don't know about the 2.5, the 4-cylinder, it was also in the Jeep, but I suspect it's in the same situation.
Version of the 4.0. Yeah, it's
right.
Just
that's what I was thinking.
Scaled down version of the 4.0 is what it is.
Yeah, so you can actually get oil. I think Mobil 1 High Mileage is a good oil. That's the one I use in the XJ. But I also have the additive, the zinc additive, that I can put in there to raise the level of the zinc in the oil. And this is it's a good thing to know about, and especially if you want to keep your engine running. And as the 4.0 gets older and older, I think there's going to be a lot of parts for a long time. But why risk it? Keep that engine going good. Make sure you've got a good.
It's going to end up like a lot of the older ones. You're going to see that the usable cores and usable hard parts, and even the aftermarket in a lot of cases, if the demand isn't there, the stuff will start to dry up. So it's better I've known guys in the past that they're dead set on a given power plant or a given transmission or whatever, and they will literally go out and buy them and stack them up in the garage or the shed and just have them there. It's like, this is my little treasure trove. These aren't for sale. They're not for nobody else. They're for me, because they know eventually you're not able to get it again. So anything you could do like that, provided you're not overdoing it, because it is possible to overdo it. There are certain additives that I would never recommend using. Some of them I have figured out the hard way on my own, just from my own experience. Others I've seen customers through the shop. I know a lot of people are experiencing with the late model Jeeps this whole OT20 synthetic oil debacle with the newer engines. It's like, get rid of that lightweight stuff. Get you something a little more substantial in there. You'll thank me later.
I like hearing that. I don't like the 020 stuff. I don't like zero anything in my oil viscosity. So I'm glad to hear you say that. I ran straight 30 weight in the XJ for years, and a buddy of mine that helped me rebuild the 4.0, which the only reason why I rebuilt it was I had a little extra money. I wanted to put a little, not really a true not cranker. What's the thing called? Whenever you can up the 4.0 horsepower and torque.
Stroke it? Like turn it into
stroke it. Yeah. Stroker. Yeah. It wasn't a full stroke or anything, but we had done some things to it to increase horsepower. And I wound up running the crane cam. Actually, one of the lobes went flat on me, and it was horrible. And we did the break-in and the zinc and all that stuff, and it still crapped out. I'll never buy another crane cam. It may not have been Crane's fault, but I'll never buy another crane cam. I had one in a 327 years prior, and it was wonderful. But anyway, so
maybe just a one-off failure.
I'm hoping so. I don't think like I said, I don't think it's anything we've done that we did wrong in rebuilding the engine. It was a different block. So actually, when that one blew up, we went back with the original one that he was storing in his shop. So and refreshed it. Didn't do a full rebuild on it, but did a refresh. Honed the cylinders, new rings, pistons were fine. Same cam, same bearings on the crank. I think I'm at 250 or something now on the Jeep overall, but I don't have 250 on that engine. Most of the miles is on that first engine, which is now back, and it's been great. It's been running for years since we put it back in there. But anyway, yeah, zinc, very important. I recommend that you make sure that you have the right oil for your older vehicle. And just in case you're curious, it's really any vehicle with a 4.0 liter on it. But if you're not aware, that would be in the Cherokee XJ, the Wrangler YJ and TJ, Grand Cherokee ZJ and WJ. Now, keep in mind, not
Comanche.
all of those have.
Don't forget the MJ. Don't forget the MJ, the Comanche.
Oh, that's true. That's true. It just didn't have it here in the list.
And the AMC Eagle.
So that just because you may have a Grand Cherokee doesn't mean that you got the 4.0. You may have the V8 model, which may be a different beast altogether. I don't know anything about those. So all I know is that they drop valve seats. So. Oh, and one of the reasons why the industry got away from the high zinc level oil was it can damage your catalytic converter. And Lord knows we can't have a life without a catalytic converter.
Yeah. Do you still have a catalytic converter under your Jeep?
I do.
Do you? Oh, okay.
Yeah, $100 from Amazon, easy to install.
Yeah. Has it got anything in it, or does it just look like a cat?
No, I had a Z28 that was having some problems with acceleration, and somebody told me or something that the cat's probably clogged up. I used a long pole to gut that bastard, and everything was fine after that.
See, you guys, where you're at, how's your emission standards look for like all that good stuff? Because Texas did away with state safety inspections beginning this year. So unless you live in an emissions county like Williamson or Travis, they don't put the sniffer in the tailpipe for, you don't have to worry about that stuff anymore. So long as it's not violating any noise ordinances, they don't care. Most of them don't, but yeah, we don't have to deal with it anymore.
Harris County is one of those that you have to do the emissions thing. Yeah. And I remember back when I was doing the V8s, the 327s, the 350s and stuff, the emissions on those things were very good because if you keep it tuned and adjusted properly, you're not going to have a problem with emissions, even in the old days. So,
but we can't have all those fumes escaping into the atmosphere and messing up the ozone layer and all that good stuff, because heaven forbid if cow farts get out of control. Yeah.
Well, I'm doing my bit by eating a lot of cow meat. All right. So, so this can damage your cam, and which is really what causes it. And the cam damage can occur, and then you get some ticking noise because there's a gap there. And as it wears down, it will finally get out of spec where it'll throw a code. And that's you definitely want to catch it before you get a code on there. So speaking of cam damage, I recently saw that Brad from Trail Recon started having a ticking noise coming from his Gladiator with a 3.6 liter engine at 31,000 miles.
Wow.
Yeah. So he was just, I don't know if you keep up. Yeah, I don't know if you keep up with Brad or not, but he was going on a Alaska trip in his Gladiator. He was driving to Alaska, and he was like 8 days from leaving, whatever the tick and stuff started happening. So he had to take it to a shop to get it fixed because, and I believe this is the correct number, there are 22,000 cams on back order for people that are having problems with their 3.6.
Yeah, and for those of you that don't know, the 3.6 is a dual overhead cam setup. So there's separate camshafts on each bank, one on each side for intake, one each side for exhaust. And they're 4 valves per cylinder, which makes things very interesting because now we've got double the rocker arms and all the other good stuff, plus the phasers and all the timing shit. I wished that they could have just stuck with the simplicity and bulletproofness of the 4.0. They could have modernized it and imagine a 4.0 with its aluminum block sleeve cylinders, aluminum head, nice little camshaft in there. right fuel injection, I mean, good Lord, that thing would be a monster for a Jeep, and you wouldn't need a V8. You'd have all the torque in the world.
And correct me on this, the 3.6 is an interference engine, whereas the
Yes,
4.0 is not.
correct.
So that
Yep.
means
You
if
do
you're
like mine
timing,
did, toss a timing chain, you've got pistons kissing valves.
yeah, which is no fun. That's a problem with the Hondas as well. Several vehicles out there. But it is what it is. And as long as you got a good warranty on it, you may not have your Jeep for 4 months, but you may not have to pay more than $100, if that. All right, so this issue with the cam wearing down and the whole issue with the 3.6 with the ticking noise and stuff. My understanding is that the Baxter Performance Oil filter adapter is supposed to be the fix for this, or at least somewhat of a fix, because it keeps the oil in the the upper part of the engine. So when you start it, the oil filter releases the oil into the upper part of the engine. So now you get things oiled quicker. Have you heard anything about the Baxter Performance Oil Filter Adapter?
Yes.
And you don't have to agree with me.
No, I totally think it's a good idea. I think it is a little bit oversold because the release of the oil that's in there, and for those of you again that don't understand, on a 3.6 Pentastar, the oil filter actually comes in from the top of the motor. It's not
So
screwed
strange
onto
to
the
me.
bottom.
Yeah.
It's a cartridge style filter and a little housing with a cap on it, and the whole thing, unless you get an aftermarket one's made out of a crappy plastic. And so what happens when you shut the vehicle off? Gravity does its thing. So there's very little residual oil left for the stuff that needs the high pressure lubrication on startup. And so that the Baxter, what it does is keeps oil up there and then releases it when you start the engine. So it's kind of akin to the same thing as like a dry sump or an AccuSump, which is cool, but it's not the end all be all because you still have to have some pressure from the oil pump once the engine's fired. So you get that help, but it's not like a perfect, solution. Is it worth the money? In my opinion, if you have V6 and you plan on keeping it, the 3.6, abso-freaking-lutely get one. Get the all metal upgraded oil cooler as well. Get rid of that plastic piece of shit. Those things are so horrible. I hate those things. And I don't care which year model 3.6 you have, yours is going to crack eventually, your oil cooler. You will at some point, sooner than you know, you're going to be fixing it. It happens to all of them. It's just a bad design for that particular component. So I would say, if you have to keep in mind observing your oil change intervals, using a quality oil and a quality filter, all that good stuff. If you're one of these people that rides it hard, puts it away wet, and then you don't touch it for 6 months, don't expect the world to be a bowl of cherries and cream every time you go out there to wheel. But if you're taking care of it and observing a maintenance schedule, that's just as important as almost any of it, how you drive it. If you're like me, where you're beating the shit out of it every time you go out, you have to pay closer attention to all these little things because they'll sneak up just like you're, with Brad. That would be a shitty way to end up. You're a week out from a badass trip like that, and then you're dropping. I don't know what they charged him to get him in that fast and get it done. It probably wasn't cheap. So
it was a local shop that he's used before, so it wasn't a dealership. Well, he would have been waiting for months to get it done. And he, I think it was a listener or a viewer of his YouTube channel that provided him the cam. So my understanding, I think it was just one cam they replaced. So apparently you can replace just the cam and the rocker that has the issue.
Yep. I would normally, when I was doing them at the shops I've been at before that provided that service, for whatever camshaft we were replacing, we'd go ahead and do all of the rockers, just as a kind of a CYA thing. They're not that expensive. It's the camshafts that are the pricey part. The gasket kit, the rockers, all that stuff, other stuff you need to do it is really not that expensive. The labor can get high depending upon who you choose to have it done, because some places are, like we talked about earlier, it's not a hard job, but it is an in-depth job. So there's a lot of small BS that has to come out of the way to actually get the cover off, to even gain access to all these components. There's little specialty tools to hold your timing components in place while you undo everything to get the phasers off. So I would say it's maybe one step above what an average shade tree garage home mechanic could do, but definitely doable. And some of that stuff, like I've got 2 or 3 of the timing sets because they do wear. They're just made out of plastic, little pieces and bits that you use. So they do, after you've used it several times, they'll start to wear on you and you have to freshen them up. But again, those kits aren't expensive either. I think the last one I got off Amazon, it was like $30, and it comes with all the there's a little retainer for the tensioner so that when you've got it preset, as you're putting everything back together, there's this little pin that goes in a tiny little hole to hold that thing back so you keep the tension off the chain. I think a lot of people, the biggest fear is just if you get the timing off, if you miss it by a tooth or two, like we just talked about, it can lead to a lot of bad things. So if you're unsure, let a professional do it. But, Tony said, don't go to the dealership. Fuck.
So I did reach out to Kevin at Baxter Performance, Kevin Baxter, and he gave me a call back the other day. We're planning on doing an interview with him so we can actually talk about the Baxter Performance oil filter adapter and what it may do to help you not be like Brad. Don't be like Brad. Don't have to have that, have your engine opened up and some serious work done to it before you're going on a 1,000-mile trip. The only thing that could have been worse is that he could have been in Alaska when this happened.
Oh yeah.
So it was actually good that it happened before that he left.
Yeah. I had a buddy that had one in his 2019. He was at EJS 2 years ago and it was ticking before he left. And he thought, man, it'll be all right. I'll just keep an eye on it. I'll put some Lucas oil engine honey in there, the stabilizer stuff, and it'll be fine. And it took a shit on him out on the trail, And it's like, what do you do then? That's an expensive recovery. You're out there and it's like,
man, if you had an XJ, could you imagine having an XJ? You drove it for years and then worry about a little ticking noise and a 3.6? It'll be fine.
You should see the look on people's face the first time you hear like a solid lifter engine from back in the day. It sounds like the valve train's going to come apart because the lash that's in there and how they're designed and set up. It's like, it sounds crazy the first time you hear it if you're not used to it. But I remember growing up with my dad, we had to set the lash every so often in the 396 in his Corvette, and we'd always go drive it first because you have to do it while it's hot. You can't do it while it's cold because of expansion of all the components. And I hated doing that with him because obviously it was a really nice car because we'd done a full frame off restoration on it. But he would have me bump the key as he would go down the road, the rockers with his feeler gauge and his wrench, and he had the valve cover off, took it off while it was hot, and he'd sit there, and every time I bumped it, it would squirt a little bit of oil at him, and God dang, I learned the hard way, the first time I didn't bump it and let it go, and it fired up, and it was just oil going everywhere over him.
I was just going to say, after I rebuilt a 327, and I was like 17, 18 years old, rebuilt a 327, had cleaned up the engine bay, and then my neighbor, his dad was a diesel mechanic at a local company here in the Houston area. And he was going to come over and do the lash on all the, it's a Chevrolet engine. So it's like what you're saying. And, it was pull the valve covers off, started her up. Oil is squirting. Yes. Yeah. Squirting all over the inside. And it's like, okay, man.
Drag strip. I wouldn't want to do it that way. I mean, no.
Hey, I didn't know any better. And there was no internet back then. It was just like, hey, I know a guy. So I cleaned it up afterwards. I mean, it ran great. It was a really nice engine. But sadly, I learned why they made 4-bolt mains on the Chevrolet V8s because I broke one of the mains on that 327. All right, so Real Rides.
He just unplugged the coil before we did it the next time. He's like, I'm not going to let you accidentally start it again while I'm doing this. So just unplug the coil and it wouldn't fire up. So
yeah, you couldn't make the mistake. All right, so Real Rides Volume 4, Lindsey Jackson. Here at Real Truck, we are more than just a faceless retailer. We're a company of enthusiasts with genuine love for all things automotive, namely accessorizing. In the Real Source series, Real Rides, we take a deep dive into the cars and trucks that make our staff tick. Stay tuned for Volume 4 of the series as we learn more about our staffer, Lindsey Jackson, better known as that F-150 girl on Instagram, and her tricked-out 13th generation Ford F-150. You can read more about this blog entry by simply going over to realtruck.com/blog and search for Real Rides Lindsey Jackson. It's L-I-N-D-Z-Y. That's a hell of a spelling for Lindsey, but hey, I'm not here to
Lindsay.
Yeah, I'm not here to bust her balls. Hey, if you've been on a round table, and it's not a chick truck thing that I was doing there. So, hey, if you're on a roundtable recording or listening to a recent roundtable episode, you know that we've been talking about batteries. It was mentioned on a roundtable not too long ago that if you have the start-stop disabled on your JL or JT, the computer stops charging the aux batteries. You know, this is the second time I've gone through this, and I still can't read the damn thing. So I disabled my start-stop with the Taser Mini almost 4 years ago, and after hearing about the aux battery charge disable, I re-enabled the start-stop, but it never works. It will not do the start-stop. And you say, hey, this must mean the battery isn't healthy, but what do I care? I don't have to deal with that start-stop, you know? Problem is that means that the aux battery is probably not charged, and it's probably going to pull down the main battery. What do you think, Greg?
Yeah, I like to get rid of the aux battery on those things. I don't like the auto start. Feel like it's disabled on the wife's Jeep. I can't stand that. That is
no.
It just, to me, I don't think, if you've been around enough, like large equipment, diesels, race cars, stuff like that, this goes hand in hand with what we're just talking about with the oil and the camshafts and stuff. The hardest the hardest wear that an internal combustion engine can see is initial startup. That is when you've got the most stress on it, unless you're wrapping the thing to the moon, right? Most people don't do that, but you start it all the time. So every time I come to a full stop, we're going to shut it all down. We're going to lose our oil pressure. We're going to have hot coolant sitting in the friggin' engine and hot coolant sitting in the radiator, not going anywhere.
And getting hotter. And the temperature goes up drastically. Yeah.
You know, and then I release the brake pedal and the engine magically comes back to life. And I go, I get the idea, but as far as the emissions, like I think the emissions argument's BS. The modern engines the modern engines are normally so well produced, and the tolerances are so good that the emissions really isn't an issue. It's right. Not like, now if you go out there and do a delete on a diesel and you're just out rolling coal all the time, well then, you know, this argument isn't for you. But for the rest of us that are just commuting, I don't purposely want to destroy the environment, but the auto start-stop thing, is as silly as this is going to sound, to me, it's a huge hindrance and inconvenience. I don't like it.
It's more equipment. It's more things to go wrong, exactly. And it does.
And the aux battery has been nothing but a problem for most of these Jeeps going on, what now, 6, 7 years, 8 years? We're still having problems. It was a novel idea on paper. It has not been good in practice from the Jeeps I've seen.
You know, it works amazingly well, but if you're a long-time gearhead, it is bothersome whenever the engine stops. When the engine stops, that is a potential. What happened?
Something's wrong.
Is it going to start up?
Wrong. Yeah,
exactly.
I can't stand hearing the full-size SUVs that are electric, like the new Fords and some of the big body SUVs. I expect it when I see a Prius or a Tesla go by. It's not going to make any noise, but the tire's on the ground. When a full-size F-150 comes around the end of the shop and cruises by and doesn't make a sound, my brain goes, that's wrong. That should not.
Yes.
No.
Yeah,
and then the little angelic sound that they make when they put it in reverse. I'm backing up. Like, okay, you just put the beeper on there, like the big.
I was going to say, put the construction zone beeper on there.
I don't want to hear an angelic choir, you know, humming to me under their breath because you're backing up the car.
And damn it, I don't want a very weak sounding V8 or a V6 or whatever making that whiny noise, and they pipe in they monitor the RPMs and they pipe in the V8 noise in your stereo system so that you get the effect. There is no fun in driving down a road, uncapped header, unless you're disturbing the entire neighborhood. So,
that's kind of the whole point. When I build my LS, it's going to get a choppy cam because I think it sounds cool. I don't give a shit what anybody else thinks. I like how it sounds.
I wish that the open, where you could do the electronic open headers, or even just a cable thing where you could pull it and it would just do the flap.
Dumps.
That is so cool. I just love that. What do you mean, officer? It's fine.
Totally legal.
All right, so I disabled the start-stop with the Taser Mini, and we are here where we are, and I think that's what I'm going to do is just disable the aux battery. But damn it, couldn't they have put that someplace harder to get to? I was talking to Greg Henderson the other day, unofficial use only. He goes, 6 minutes. It just takes you 6 minutes to get to that battery. And it's like bullshit. It's not gonna, it's going to take me 6 minutes just to find the 10 millimeter socket that I may or may not need. So I was doing a little research, and Roger, one of our weekly Zoom people on the roundtable, he mentioned that he had gotten a dual battery setup from Genesis Off-Road. Yes. And so I started doing some research on
awesome stuff. I like.
Oh, I'm amazed. It is just gorgeous. So I've reached out to Shane, the owner over at Genesis Off-Road. We're trying to get him on the show. He seems up for an interview. Yeah, and going to be talking to him. But I was really impressed with. They do have the dual battery setup, but they also have the frames where you can take the aux battery out, put it in the frame up top. And then now both batteries are up top. So if you got to change that aux battery out every 2 years, if you want the stop-start feature, and I'm sure there's some people that are like that, man buns or whatever reason they have, now you can easily get to it and change it out instead of having to remove that fender or go through underneath the power distribution unit to get to it. So
signaling. If you're proud of your auto start-stop feature, you're just virtue signaling. That's all that is. It has no real purpose.
No, it really doesn't. It's just wear and tear mainly. But I think I'm going to go for the dual battery setup, and I'm hoping to get Shane on because, and I'm sure you're well aware of the price of batteries. I was looking at a full throttle battery to go in this thing, and that's like $800 of full throttle batteries for the dual battery setup. The Group 25s. I don't need to do that.
They're very, very badass, they use a lot extensively for performance off-road and all kinds of racing, but they ain't cheap. They're badass, but they ain't cheap. It's like, remember when Optimas were the big thing years ago? It's like, if you didn't have a red top Optima, if you didn't have a red top Optima, you were not cool. It was like having a Grant steering wheel. You had to have a Grant steering wheel too.
I never had a Optimus battery that lasted as long as just a piece of shit lead acid. And I think I caught them after they had China make them or whatever it is.
Yeah, they switched because
the quality is just not there from what you used to have or what I read about.
I had
an
old school, the deep cycle yellow top in mine and my 84 K5 Blazer, and amazingly it did last several. But that was before they changed production facilities and all that other stuff. So it lasted a good long while. I never did do the red top, and it scared me. I got away from them because I had a buddy that got a yellow top inspired by me, and he put his winch leads. If you're not familiar with the Optim, those batteries, they've got your either top post or top post and side post. And the side post ones, it's just a little lead bar that comes off of the main post under the plastic cladding. It goes down to those side screws, right? Well, he had put his winch leads on those, ground and positive, and then he was running everything else off the top post, the main post. He smoked his winch, and it melted. Just like a bus bar in an electric panel would go, it melted the ground side strap between the side post and the top just from overusing his winch. And if you've ever seen a lead acid battery catch fire or pop, it's not pretty. That's not something you want to be anywhere close to. So that was the point. It was funny how it worked because I was the one that inspired him to get it. And then his foul up inspired me to stop using that brand. Just get away from that altogether. It's like, I don't want that in my truck. So,
yeah, that's interesting. I would have thought that would have been a great idea. That's strange that it caused that issue. So anyway, like I was saying, we've reached out to Shane over at Genesis Off-Road for an interview. Keep checking back so you don't miss it. I will ask Shane if he would be up for doing a roundtable episode so you can ask him questions about the Genesis system. And hell, I don't care what you ask him about, but I would think it primarily would be the Genesis system. At least for me, the dual battery setup for Jeeps is the holy grail. I would love to have a dual battery setup. I know some people don't care. A good battery is all you need, but I love the idea of being able to run other things off the second battery or switch over to the other battery to start because you have a dead battery, or you ran it down, you left your light bar on or whatever. So yeah, I think it'll be good.
A dedicated full size, and if you get an alternator to go with, that's even better. Oh my gosh, because for people that want like high draw, high current accessories, onboard welder, any kind of gratuitous camping gear, overlanding stuff that requires that kind of power. Have it. It's double redundancy. Having that extra battery is phenomenally badass, and it's not just in a bragging kind of way. It's not like, hey, look at me. It's just like, it's better to have it and not need it. Kind of like your EDC. I'd rather have two of them suckers under. Now all my diesel brethren would be like, fuck you. I don't like having to buy two batteries every couple 3 years because they're expensive.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, but how cool is it that you've got that whole extra? I know some of my military buddies that have to deal with the 24-volt systems and some of the Army trucks and shit. They don't like it either. I like the idea. I think it'd be cool. And if you do it right and you carry some extra, I don't know, 6010, 6011 rod, you can hook those two batteries together with jumper cables and weld very effectively. Right. It's kind of cool. So.
All right. Well, this is kind of funny, but we need a new Josh. That's the reason why Greg is here. Are you Josh material? We need someone arrogant enough to stand their ground, opinionated enough to spark lively debates, even when they're wrong. This is Josh was often wrong.
I'm never wrong.
That's exactly what Josh said. And quick to laugh at my jokes.
I'm only misinformed.
Now, what does the wife say? Are you ever wrong? Does the wife say you're ever wrong?
I mean, okay, the door's shut. I can talk freely.
Yeah, exactly.
If I start blinking rapidly, that means I'm in trouble.
Safe word, meatloaf. Yeah, exactly.
I don't argue with her. I know better. I'm a man. I don't have an opinion. If I did, it'd be wrong anyway.
Yeah. My wife sent me a video off of one of the social media things. It was about minimizing heart attacks by taking naps. I love naps. And she says, you're doing it right. I'm going to frame that. The first thing I said to her was, who is this? Because I know it's not my wife.
Every once in a while, but anyway, don't catch me off guard with something, and I'm like, oh, because I'm busy at the shop, elbows deep in something that's just driving me nuts or giving me fits, and then she'll shoot me a text or call me up and be like, hey, I got you this, like she's just thinking about me while she's doing her stuff, and I'm over here cussing and spitting and trying to get work done, and she's doing her thing, but she's thinking about me, and then I always feel like an asshole because it's like, shit. So you got to make it a better point to reciprocate without being prompted.
Exactly.
Goes a long ways. So.
Yep. So if you think you could be the new Josh, head over to jeeptalkshow.com/contact, reach out, and we'll set up a tryout to see if you've got what it takes to roll with the Jeep Talk Show. And of course, you can be male or female. And I don't mean to be too probing in this question, Greg. Are you male or female? Or do you have another pronoun?
Yeah, I don't use pronouns. I'm a dude. If you have to tell me what your pronouns are before we start talking to each other, I'm probably not going to talk to you. To each their own, brother. But I don't play those fucking games. I don't go there.
I know. It's just so strange. All right. Well, Greg, I'm going to let you wrap this episode up with this little area in blue that you see in the show notes.
I got to reopen that because I let it close because we got busy talking. So here we go. The blue spot. Did this Jeep Talk Show episode get your engine roaring? Show us some love by dropping a 5-star rating and a blazing review on your go-to podcast platform. It's your way to help us expand the Jeep family. Keep the adventure rolling by hitting follow and on your social media and joining our newsletter crew for the hottest Jeep updates, unmissable events, and awesome giveaways. And believe me, there's some good stuff. If you've got a burning question or a wild idea for our next episode, fire it over to us at jeeptalkshow.com/contact. Thanks for cruising with us, and we hope that you get ready for more thrilling journeys ahead.
Broadcasting since 2010.
Greg, it was great to have you here for this test episode. I really appreciate it. So,
absolutely.
How do you like it?
It was fun.
What'd you think?
I like it because, well, again, I can't have a whole lot of in-depth mechanical off-road related conversations with the wife because she just doesn't care. It's like, all right, but I don't. She doesn't want to know all the particulars, and I spend so much time at the shop alone. It's like I don't have anybody to shoot the shit with about off-roading and jeeping and stuff. It's like every time Mike comes down to visit, I won't let him walk away. We just keep talking.
Oh, it's just so much nicer working on things with somebody there. They don't have to be helping you. It just takes your, I mean, you know what you have to do. And oftentimes it takes a long time to do it. It's nice just to have somebody to chat with.
Well, I'll oftentimes, especially if it's one of the kiddos or something, like with my older two, if they're with me while I'm doing something, they don't necessarily ask, hey, while you're doing that, how's it work? It's just more of a, so while I'm in here, I'm going to show you this. You know, I get into like my teacher mode where I'm showing and explaining what I'm doing and why. You know, but when the wife's around, it's more like, I'm just focusing on what I'm doing, and she's looking at her phone. And if she sees me sweating, she'll bring me a water or a beer. And if I'm cussing, she'll be the one to be like, okay, take a break, come over here, smoke a cigarette, calm down, then go back to it. So she's definitely the voice of reason in our relationship, and I'm more of the dumbass.
Oh, that's universal.